Hello, everyone, and welcome back again to SkateProud Chat. Today, we are going to talk with Karina Manta and Joy Johnson, ice dancers from Team USA. And here I can see already Karina. Going to let her in. Okay, connecting. Hi, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
Wow, looking
Hello,
good.
hello. Thank you. I did my makeup for this.
Oh, nice. That's cool. So, how's it going? It looks
It's
nice outside.
it is. I'm at my parents' house in
Wow,
Georgia. Yeah, they
beautiful.
have a beautiful yard. So I'm lucky to be here. I'm here with my family, my parents and my brother.
It's
So
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. So well, first of all, thank you for coming into Escape Proud and being part of the team and supporting the movement. And I'm so happy that you are here. Karina and Joey, you guys are considered the first openly and proud LGBTQ plus figure skaters, ice dancers ever, like both of you.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like being out, we don't know. That's what's kind of hard with like queerness and our history is that
That's
people
what kind of hit the news, yeah?
Yeah, so we don't know if there were teams that came before us,
Mm-hmm.
but we're honored that we were in a place where we felt safe enough to to be that first team that's out for the next generation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us a little bit more about the story. It was in 2019 when you guys competed out for the first time, both of you, or how was
Yes.
all that?
So it's funny. It's a bit of a long story, but I'll try to make it short. We got Skate America. And I
Mm-hmm.
had been dating my girlfriend for a little over a year at that point. And I was open in a lot of my circles. I was open with my close friends, with my immediate family, but I was not out very much in the skating world, and I was not out to some of my extended family. And so my girlfriend, being the supportive, wonderful person that she is, wanted to come to events. And for a long time, I had been like, I don't know if it's a good idea. And some of that was like, I felt like I almost needed to protect her. I mean, some of it was that I was scared. Um, but I told her no. And then that year I said, okay, if we get Skate America, you can come. Not really, like, I wasn't sure that we were going to get it. But then we got it. And so I put it off and I put it off. Um, and I wrote her this poem, which was not originally, it was like a gift to her. We had spent that summer going to a lot of like community poetry
Mm-hmm.
events. I'm a writer, so like that's kind of what I do for fun in my free time. And she's a singer, and so we decided to use this poem that I gave her together and to post it on social media, and that's how I was going to come out to everyone. Um, which I didn't mean it for it to be like a big thing. It was sort of just like my family that's going to be at this event. I need to tell them because they're going to be wondering who this woman is.
Exactly.
um, and so I posted it. I think it was a Sunday night, and I posted it like very late because I didn't want to go to the rink the next morning and have people asking me questions.
So that was right the day before, like the event started.
Well, it was about like I think 2 weeks before the event, maybe. I
Okay.
I don't quite remember, but a few weeks, like 2 weeks before. But I had practice
So
the next
you
day.
decided to together to write this poem song, and which is such a beautiful way of like coming out, let's say, to your, I mean, to your family and everyone, because you were bringing your girlfriend to this big event, this competition that for you meant so much. She was going to be there supporting you. And so yeah, tell us more about like what was this inspiration for the poem, like the song, and how was like how did the people reacted to that?
So I feel like I have to say, we didn't write the song. It's a Vance Joy song.
Okay.
But the poem bits are parts that I wrote. And part of it, like we're big. We went and saw Andrea Gibson several times together. And she does a lot of. She's a poet. but she has a lot of collaborative stuff with musicians.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time we were like listening to her work so much, and she had an album come out. And so I think we were like, oh, we could do something like this. And I was just writing a lot anyway. And so the poem was what I was feeling. I mean, for me, that's sometimes an easier way to express myself. I'm actually like, I get very nervous in interviews and talking to people. And so if I can write it down and know what I'm saying and organize it, that's a bit easier for me.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that was easier than like having conversations with people. It was just like, here, there's this video, you can watch it. That says
Yeah,
everything I feel like I
it
need
feels
to.
like you as an artist express yourself better putting it in a expressive way than with just like an interview. Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, we're skaters, so I think we can all understand a little bit. Like,
Yeah,
there are different ways to
it makes
convey
sense. Yeah,
emotion.
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And as far as like how it was received, it got more attention than maybe I was anticipating. Which was good and bad. I think I was a little bit nervous about it at the time, but now looking back,
But
like,
I heard like you guys when you were like at the ice rink was such a good experience. There was people with the flags and like very supportive. Like you guys with the crowd, everybody was like so on top of you guys and like supportive. How
oh my
did that
gosh, at
feel?
Skate America, that was a magical experience. Yeah.
Yes.
It was really incredible. I think it really set in. Like the short day, I was so nervous. That was also our first only Grand Prix. So I was very nervous, just as a skater competitor. And then the short dance went fairly, I mean, we skated as well as we could have. And then the free the next day was really when it like sunk in. I think that
Mm-hmm.
like I'm here. This is one of my biggest dreams in the sport, and I'm here and out. And so it was a bit emotional to take the ice and see people with rainbow flags. And Joe's been out through our careers together, and so there were flags at our events before. At nationals, we've gotten a few
Okay.
rainbow flags, but it was and it's funny because I had been out to him and I had been out to other people, so I'd see them and be like, oh, those are for us. But like at Skate America, that was the first time really that they were for both of us.
Exactly. So going to that, um, Joe was out earlier than you
Mm-hmm.
to you to his circle and publicly.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you had a process with him as well and a story. So I would like to know how was this connection with Joe and like how was his support for you? How important was his role during this process that you had to be through?
I mean, I'm so lucky, I think, that I had Joe. I mean, for a number of reasons, beyond just the fact that we were both queer and he was very supportive through that. But he's really, like, in real life, he's my best friend. We joke that we're gonna, like, live in houses next door to each other because this is the longest we've ever been apart because of COVID.
Probably yes. Plus now you
Yeah,
guys are still together doing shows, yeah.
yeah,
But
and so he's my best friend, and having him there with me every day, I think really made the difference for me, and helped me accept myself. That being said, we had very different experiences. I think being a queer man in the sport and being a queer woman in the sport, we face some of the same things, but at the same time, I think,
it's very yeah that we will get to that for sure because it's
yeah,
about the stereotypes. But yeah, and how was his support? How did you feel that? How important was his role in this process for you? Did it help you? I guess.
I mean, Joe's so great because he is just like a constant presence, of listening and of being supportive. And he never tries to like impose what he thinks I should do or what maybe he did. He's always somebody who will just listen, and be there for me.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I love him.
That's so good. That is so great that it's if we always talk about it when there's like a couple, whether it's ice dance or pairs, you already
Mhm.
need that connection. It's extra difficult. Would say it's like a relationship.
Yeah.
Um, but it's amazing that beside that you guys are like best friends and you connect in so many aspects in this life, and that probably has to feel like magical and like so supportive when you go to compete or when you're still doing shows right now. So yeah, it looks like amazing, like
Yeah, and I mean, I
very
think it's kind of
supportive.
funny because some of the dialogue like surrounding us as a LGBTQ plus team was like, oh, they're like going against portraying like romantic storylines, which I think we were, but also like Joe and I think are closer than like many teams, hetero teams that are out there. So it's just funny because like we're never like faking our relationship on the ice. I would say like we really are best friends. I mean, granted, training with a partner is hard. Like you have ups and downs,
Exactly.
um, but like it's funny just that was part of the conversation because like no, we're not portraying a romantic storyline, but like our love for each other is genuine. So
You can feel that for sure.
yeah, and
We,
everybody out there is
the
acting like
public can
that's.
feel that too, that connection, and
Mm-hmm,
yeah, that's, I think that's one of the most important parts, as like you guys connecting so many different levels in this life.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, and going to this topic about the stereotypes of figure skating,
Yeah.
where everybody thinks, you know, guys are probably gay, and which is wrong, and but then it's also affecting your case, that you feel probably a extra pressure about not being able to come out your true self and express yourself. Probably that didn't help as well, because there's not that many cases of queer women in figure skating, and this is where we this is why we need to have this conversation today, because the stereotypes doesn't help. They don't help either to your case, to our cases, and we kind of need to break them. We have to like change that. And going to yourself, to your story, I would like to know, how will you identify in the community, and if you can tell us more about your experience.
Yeah, so just as far as like labels go, I
Yes.
typically use bisexual and queer. Those tend to be my go-tos. But also I think at first when I was coming out, I felt a lot of pressure around labels to pick the right one, and once I come out, that's the one I'm going to be, and so I have to make sure it's right because I don't want to say the wrong thing and then I'm stuck with it. But I think what I've realized, I mean, I've been out for in close circles for about 4 years now,
Mm-hmm.
or 3 or 4 years, I don't know. But the labels don't feel as imprisoning as they once did. And I feel like I can go between and around and use them with context. Different labels feel more appropriate at certain times for me. And obviously, like everybody in the community has different takes on this, which I think is beautiful. I think a lot of times people will hear a queer person like say their take on something, but like we all have different opinions on labels and what they mean to us. That's kind of the lovely thing about words.
Exactly, and I feel labels doesn't need to define yourself either. You don't have to
Mm-hmm,
like. I mean, it's more about the feeling of being able to be your true self, feeling part of the community, and
mm-hmm,
yeah, you don't have to define yourself whether you're lesbian, bisexual. Like you don't have to like pick. It's not like that. It's like
mm-hmm,
you're just, you know, being your true self, to yourself, to others, and being free about it, like open about it. So I think it is important to hear how you identify as well, but it's more about how you feel about it, how you
mm-hmm,
feel embraced by the community, and how also right now you are like a big advocate for the community, for supporting all of us. So yeah, I think it was a big moment that you guys were out and proud during this competition. Probably, will you consider that one of your proudest moments in your career? And as well, so Yeah, what exactly? That's a good question. What's your proudest moment, like in your
Oh
figure skating career?
gosh, that's a tough one. I mean, I do think Skate America and Nationals, both those events where I was out, and the Sweet Dreams program was very special to me and Joe.
Hmm.
It was sort of this decision we made at the start of the season. Our choreographer Christopher Dean suggested the music, and we had like Joe and I had argued about music quite a while until he suggested that. We weren't sure what direction we wanted to
Yeah,
take. Um, and we immediately felt like it resonated with us. And so that season was about putting out a program that we felt very close to personally. And so there were things that, like the voguing section that got in, I mean, Chris obviously created the program, but he definitely took a lot of input from us about like what we wanted to portray and what sort of characters and moods
yeah.
we
What
wanted
was
to
the
show.
story about the program that you wanted to portray? Yeah,
Yeah, it was like, I mean, it's got a voguing subsequence. Like, it's a very queer program, which was intentional.
yeah.
Because I think that season, I mean, we had some debate over whether we would even skate that season. We were short on funding, basically, and we didn't really have the money to do that last season. And so we went without coaching for a lot of times, and our coaches really stepped in and helped us out. And so many people like helped make that season happen for us. Um, and so I think our intention going in was we're gonna make this not about the placement, not about. I mean, obviously we're competitors, we want to do well, but it was more about showing who we were on the ice.
Hmm. Your true self. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and creating something that we felt like we could be proud of. So yeah, I mean that's one of my proudest moments, but it's hard to say. Like I'm not out of the skating world yet,
exactly.
and I hope to stay involved in the skating world, and so hopefully I'll
Well,
still see
this is
some
your
moments.
second, right? That's where we want to get to. Right now, you guys are at Cirque du Soleil.
Mm-hmm.
You continue your skating career together, so
Mm-hmm.
you're still pretty close with each other, like spending most of your time together
Yeah,
doing
yeah, we like
the
room
shows and
together half the
yeah.
time. It's
And
like
how
a
is this other
sleepover.
experience as like show skaters?
It's so fun. I adore the show world. I think it allows for a different sort of creativity that the competitive world doesn't have space for maybe at the moment. In the show, there's no rules. So you don't have to do three lifts. You don't have to do two different types of subsequences. And so that, like as an artist, offers us so much freedom. And I think our number. I mean, we had multiple numbers with Cirque, but even our number was like very queer. I think.
Oh yes, that's cool.
Yeah, we were
Did you
like
get
this.
to pick a little bit? Did you get to put a little bit of yourself in the show number?
When they built the show, which this was so cool, like it was a dream come true doing creation. We worked in Montreal with Sam and Alaj and Ben and Catherine, these incredible skaters
Yeah.
who brought the whole cast together. And then Cirque basically composed these pieces of music for the different skating numbers. And then they built the numbers for us. And our strengths as teams and our styles. And so even with Cirque, like there's so much of us in those numbers, which is a lot of fun.
That's
And it's
cool.
cool
Yeah.
because Cirque gave us the opportunity to grow as we toured too. So if
Mm-hmm.
we had been working on a new lift off the ice, we worked with an Adagio pair team, we worked with Eric and AJ pair team. And so if we were doing new lifts and we said, hey, we've trained this, we want to put it in, they would be like, hey, yeah, keep changing your number up, have fun with it. So that was an incredible experience.
Yeah. That is so great. Well, I think it's a great experience you guys had in your last figure skating season, being
Mm-hmm.
out, feeling truly yourself,
Mm-hmm.
now continue your career in the show world, being together still, best friends, and supporting one another. I think you guys are pretty lucky to have each other. Yeah.
Yeah, we're so lucky.
So talking about Joe, I think we are going to switch now and we're gonna try to connect with him as well.
Yes.
So I
Okay.
wanna thank you very much for your time, Karina. And if
Yeah.
you wanna say anything to the people who's watching us right now and stay with us, but we're going to connect with Joe as well.
I always get so nervous for this question.
Oh,
I think I just want to
just be
say
yourself.
that don't be afraid to take risks in the skating world. I think that is where we found a lot of our biggest success. And so you have to be willing to learn and take risks and be wrong in anything in life, because that's where you start to grow. So that's my little parting words.
Thank you, Karina, and
Okay,
thank you
thank
for joining
you.
the team. We will see you around very soon.
Bye.
So yeah, take care. It's great, and we're gonna try to connect now with Joe. Let's see if I can. I see him here.
Did it
Hello.
work? Hello.
Yes.
Oh my God, I can't believe it worked. I'm 90 years old. This is crazy.
I know it's the first time for me too connecting with two people in the same live chat.
Yeah,
It's,
no,
I thought it was gonna
I'm
be a
glad it worked.
challenge.
I've never like collabed. This is great.
That's cool. So how you doing? Where are you right now?
Right now I'm in Colorado. I'm just kind of biding my time. So like when Cirque kind of started to go away with COVID, what they do is they sent everybody back to their address that they have listed with the company.
Mm-hmm.
And so I still had a Colorado address listed, even though I haven't been here in like a really long time. And
Is
so
that where your parents are? Is your family?
so my dad is in Fort Collins, but I'm actually going between Colorado Springs and Denver, just kind of waiting for ice to open back up so I can get back on. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I have family here, but I'm not staying with them because I wouldn't be able to coach up there when things open up. So all right,
Of course.
right now I'm in the Springs.
Okay. So how long you been guys touring with Cirque du Soleil so far?
Well, the tour started, I think, in late September, early October. But we were with the company starting about this exact day last year. Like, I just got one of those, like, your memories from a year ago things. And it was
Okay.
just, I was like, ugh.
So
How
that's
much
when, so
changes
a
in a
year
year?
ago is when you started to, when you joined the team and started to choreograph the new show.
What's that?
That
I'm
was
so sorry, I missed the
a
question.
year ago is when you started to choreograph the new show that was going to be released in like September.
Yes. So, well, this was like when you first get there, they do like all this intake stuff. They like measure your limbs and your feet and like your body, and they like make costumes for you. So like our choreographic process started probably like late June, and then we just started just pounding out like 50 hours a week of creation, just like in a warehouse for
Yeah,
really, yeah, for the whole summer, and then like just got to hang out in Montreal when we weren't doing that.
that is so cool. Yeah. So then, of course, now the situation is like for everybody very uncertain, and you guys are like waiting, but you're gonna come back to the show if everything comes
Oh,
back to normal. Like,
absolutely. Yeah, like it's funny because like she said, it was just such a different way to experience skating. I remember when I first got there, I was not sure if it was going to feel as fulfilling or if I would just kind of feel
yeah,
like coasting, like, finishing and just going. But like you
yeah.
just got to like learn from like even now, like I take FaceTime like stretching classes from like some of the girls who like do aerial and contortion who are like way more
That is so
flexible.
cool.
It's a
So from
blast.
other like teammates from the show from Cirque.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's like a
Yeah, because
family.
there's all kinds of like artists in there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there's all kinds of artists, and we had I said 19 at one point, and I was wrong. It's 22 different countries are represented in our cast.
Wow.
So, and unfortunately, most of them speak pretty good English because like my Korean isn't very good. But like, no, like we all really hit it off. It was like this like really even among like the veteran show skaters, they were always talking like this is like a really really good cast of people who all
Yeah,
gets along really well. So we all miss each other and we're all calling all the time and
that is so cool. Yeah.
counting the days.
So Karina was talking a little bit how good was in the show that you guys were able to build something like a show number that was very accordingly with you guys and being
Yes.
able to express yourself on the ice.
So what was cool, I'm not sure exactly what the process with the composer was, but I know like they showed the composer like videos for this particular number. It was like in 3 sections and there were 3 teams. And
Yeah.
so our step out was about, I think, 2 minutes. And for each little section, they watched you skate and then they kind of like composed the music around it. And so I think they sent them the Sweet Dreams program. And so it was just like all these like camera flashing noises and like synth pop, and like it was so much fun. And like we got to really like she said, just kind of like inject ourselves into it and like work with Sam Chouinard and Elijah Balde and
Yeah.
Ben Agosto and Catherine Hill and all those like amazing creators, and just really make it our own. And like she said, you could just, if you weren't feel like, if you're like, ooh, like I feel sort of injured today, you can just be like, oh, I can go do something different. Like, it was awesome. Yeah, it was not like competition in that way.
Yes. So going to your last skating season, which is the season where you guys performed these last competitions where you both were out, and Karina recently, exactly as she was explaining, she came out in a beautiful way with the poem song. And I wanted to see how was your experience and how do you feel that moment when, because you were already out at that moment, when Karina finally was being true to herself and to others, how was that connection and what do you think that changed going to these last competitions?
So my story isn't as pretty as hers. Hers is really like beautiful and poetic and like a story to tell your grandchildren. And like mine is just like I started to tell people until like everybody knew, but like really slowly. Like we were also at completely different times. I mean, also that's like a completely normal process for a lot of people, no matter how visible you are. And there's no rule on how you're supposed to do it
No, no,
or
for
when you're
sure.
supposed to do it. I think something that was interesting to talk about with Karina, and like again, like when you're talking about our relationship and how this has really like enriched our friendship, it was just interesting because she really wasn't sure or even having these thoughts until a lot later and like into her 20s or like late teens, early 20s. And like I was one of those people who was just like, oh yeah, I knew when I was like 11. And like I told my dad, but
Oh
then I was
yeah.
just like, just kidding. And my dad was like, all right, I guess, like
So
have
you
fun
were
with
already
that. And then
joking
like
about
7 years
it.
later, I was like, just kidding again. And he's
Oh
like,
my
yeah,
gosh.
I know. Like, so like for me, it was just like baby steps.
That
But
is
for her, it was
hilarious.
just like, she
Oh
just
my
like,
gosh.
yeah, she just started having these thoughts later in life. And there's like no wrong way to arrive at this information. And like, we're always like, I think as queer people, we're always kind of having that internal exploration and like,
Yeah, and it comes from the fact that we still feel like we need to like come out because of the way the society is. And it still is a process for us of like figuring out things and understanding um, ourselves. But yeah, I wanted to see your story as well, which is by the way you're telling me, it's quite
not
fun.
nearly as cool. I'm just
No,
gonna
but
preface
it's
it with
pretty
that.
fun.
I
Uh,
didn't write a poem.
So
And
you, as you were saying, you already like were sure comfortable about yourself and like around 11 years old you
oh,
were.
comfortable? No. See, that's the thing. If I had been comfortable, I definitely would have been out since I was
Okay,
11. Because that's when I
but like
figured.
you were already like, yeah,
Yeah,
going
yeah.
through
So
the
that's when I just like
process.
started to understand that I was just
Hmm.
like, not really having that pull. Like, I think I asked out a girl when I was like 13 because I was just like, I'm definitely straight. And I was like, I asked her out, and then like 3 days later, I was like, never mind. Like, it was really bad, and I felt really bad because like there's like some collateral damage there with just like a girl that I asked out again after that, and then like 2 weeks later, I was like,
Maybe
so
not.
yeah, maybe not. It was for sure not. So
Wow.
yeah, like I think so. My experience was different because it was something that, like for Karina, like it was kind of unprecedented in like the skating world to have a girl while she was competing going into the Grand Prix season be like, by the way, like,
I have a
I'm gonna
girlfriend.
sing
Yeah.
you a song. But like, for me, it was just this matter of, first of all, I wasn't on the Grand Prix circuit when I came out, so like, I think I had just gotten like second at novice, and then I was starting to slowly come out to really close friends and family, and it was just this process of I wasn't as visible, so it wasn't like I had all this pressure on me from myself or from others to give this information, but the thing is, nobody received the information poorly. Like my parents, I was very lucky. My parents were both very supportive. My brother was supportive. All of my best friends were incredibly supportive. And so for me, my experience of coming out was all this internal struggle. And because of all these expectations and people that I had said, you know, no, I'm not gay to for like years. And I couldn't bear the thought of that. I told you so. And then on
And
the
then
other
you will have,
side,
yeah.
I'm like, wow, this
And you
was a
feel
really,
kind of you need to tell them,
yeah.
which is not really necessary, but it's more about being true yourself. And
Well, right,
that's
because you impose all these things on yourself to be perceived a certain way. And like when you've been telling people your whole life that you are a certain way, and then you start, it doesn't feel good to not correct that before going in. And like you said, because of the way society is set up right now, we do kind of have to, we don't have to, first of all, nobody has to come out if they're not comfortable, if you're not sure, anything. Your experience is your own, your journey is your own. There's no correct way to do this. But for me, I had to, it is like part of being true to myself. I had to go around and be honest to the people that I cared about most.
mm-hmm.
And then at that point, I had told all the people that I cared about, and I wasn't very visible, so I didn't need to come out in the same way or feel the need to come out in the same way that Karina did.
Yeah. So going into that, is I think is all about the stereotypes, as we were talking before with Karina. Because figure skating, the stereotype is that the guys are gay. In a way, I would say figure skating, it's one of the most open sports in that way, or like supportive, like but there is still a lot to work on, and homophobia and stereotypes. But at the same time, I feel that made a lot of pressure to Karina, as you know, it's all about the stereotype of the guy being gay. But how about a woman that feels feels queer, and like feels that pressure that she can't really be true herself, or maybe it took her longer because of that. And going into that is, how did you experience her process, which is probably one of the last seasons? When did she came to you? She came out to you. She told you her story, and how was that connection between both of you to get to the point where she was comfortable to publicly, you know, post this poem, song, and being out for everyone and herself?
Right. So I just want to tell this quick story. I'm just gonna condense it.
Yeah.
Karina came out to me via Snapchat, um, and it was like a joke. She like sent me a Snapchat of like her having tears in her eyes. She just finished some TV show, and she's like, "Haha, this show made me a bisexual, I think, or something." And I was just like, "LOL, yeah, me too." And then a month later, she like we were at her house, and like she told me, and I was like, did you did you come out to me last month via Snapchat?
Oh my
And
god.
she was like, yeah. And I'm like, girl, like I'm your best friend. You can tell me things. You have to do it in a
Very
self-deleting
millennial.
10-second message. I was like, what the hell? But, yeah. So I mean, that's how it started. But like once that conversation got going, I was just incredibly proud of her, because like she was doing something and like kind of going into this territory that nobody had really explored before. It was like she was having to kind of come to terms with it with people in order, like people she was close to, family. And I think something that I'd always sort of known but hadn't been able to really put into practice was being that close to somebody who was on that journey, because you really have to like listen to them and listen to their process and understand where they're at all times. You can't really impose a way to do it, because as soon as you like start operating in shoulds with coming out, like things get really difficult because things start to not feel natural. So it was just watching her gain confidence and then be like, and then gain more confidence and be like, again, and like, and then it just like culminated into this thing that she did before Skate America. And I mean, just the fact that
There
she,
was a lot of factors there too, like you
yeah,
guys were out to each other,
mm-hmm.
comfortable, and the last season you decided to be truly yourselves as well for your skating program. That she was telling that choreography was very projecting your personalities. You had some vogue during the program, and so I think it was a process of things. Yeah, if you want to do the choreo and teach us as well.
Just grabbing my face.
But it's yeah, I think that also kind of probably it was building up, no, for her and both of you to be your true selves on the ice.
Yeah, you know, I can't speak to, again, I don't really want to speak to her experience with it, but I think my understanding from what we've talked about is like this was kind of a vehicle for both of us because like we had talked about, I was out and I talked about it, but it was never really something that I was like putting out into the world. It was just like
Mm-hmm.
something like it was a part of me. And like I think that for her, like this program was an amazing vehicle because the more she got comfortable with herself and the more she was like able to truly be herself, like the more fun we had, like the more the choreography felt natural to us. And then by the end of that season, all those rainbow flags waving, all of the like the gay screaming during the step
That is
sequence.
so amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was something like I know it's like a cliche to say it this way, but like with like skating, especially on the other side of competing, like we never really we're never on the podium. We were never close to the podium. But like I like feel so content because of that those moments.
You
Like
feel
I
like you picked emotionally. It's like you felt fulfilled with
yes.
that those competitions. You were feeling yourselves. You were being true to yourselves, and then also the crowd, the people. It was like a whole experience, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I'll never forget. It's something that I can never really lose and something that just made my life so much more beautiful and it will carry on for the rest of my life. Like I will never not have that experience. And I'm just like if I was to start 10 years ago and know that you know I'm not going to go to the Olympics, I'm not going to win worlds, but I'm going to have that, I would do it anyway because that is honestly feeling that sense of being able to be yourself in front of all those people and do something that brings you joy is and like have people who support you through it. It was like yeah, it's all you can ever ask for from a competitive. I mean, well, all I could have asked for from a competitive career, speaking
Yeah.
for myself.
That is so great. So why don't we go to a few questions people left here?
Sure.
So one is, what made you choose the song "Sweet Dreams" for U.S. champs?
Well, Karina, I think touched on this in the first half hour. We argued for like 4 months over what we were gonna skate to. We kept on putting out like really like she wanted to do like this poem, and I was like, no, I want to skate to this song from Twilight. And there was like
So you were not like really on the
no.
same path for a while.
No, we had no idea. And also, like she said, there was the lack of funding and the general, like, okay, we have like no money to spend on this. So, like, this better be good. So we were like arguing for a while. And then Chris had been in London for a while. I think just the UK. I'm not sure where. But he came back and he had already had it cut. He's like, what about this? And we were like, yeah. That works. That was like that. So that's why we chose Sweet Dreams because like instantly we looked at each other and we were like, first of all, and all of the people who are just like, I'm glad you didn't skate to Twilight. That series is a masterpiece. It is. If you've never seen it, go watch Twilight. But sorry, that's beside the point. The point is we just knew looking at each other, this is the song we're going to skate to. This is going to be the most fun we've ever had. We have to do this one.
That is great. Another question is more related to the shows. How's the new life at Cirque du Soleil, and how is this new experience compared to the competitive experience?
Well, something that I feel like is a lot different from the competitive experience is like first of all, you're skating at night constantly, but like it's complete reversal of what you're used to from a training process. Like we used to train 20 hours, give or take, on ice, maybe a little bit more, and then I think like 8 hours off ice. But suddenly, all your show I think is about 2 hours long, and or a little less than an hour and 40. But the skaters were on the ice for most of it, so all of your training, all of everything, every time you go out, you're in performance mode. You have an audience of about 3,000 people who are watching you, and that's your training. That's like you just do. That's when you do your run throughs. Is in front of an audience every time. You skate on your own, maybe 20 minutes a week on that ice size, and then the rest of it straight in front of an audience. You warm up, you skate a tiny bit in a little piece of ice backstage, and then it's just go the instant you hit. So it was like complete reversal of like training, performance, training. So that was the biggest adjustment for us.
That's amazing. So what will be your proudest moment in figure skating in your competitive career? What would you say, or where you felt like it was the moment?
The moment would have definitely been last year's US Nationals. Like, just, it was like one of those like days where you woke up like knowing it was gonna be good. And then like you don't really have those that often in skating. So like when they happen and you're just like, I feel great today. And you like go out and you're just like, I'm gonna do perfect. And not perfect. It was like as good as we could have skated it, but like perfect for us. So it's like, we're just like, oh, it just feels like nothing can go wrong. And it was just like one of those things where it was just magical from start to finish, and everybody was so wonderful to us and supportive. And yeah, I mean, just like running into like Charlie White in an elevator and having him just going like "Sweet dreams of me," I was like, I was like, this is it.
I love that.
Yeah, no, it was like that was like the happiest few days of my skating career, bar none. Easily my favorite time in my career.
Yeah. Well, Joe, thank you very much. It was so much fun to chat with you and Karina. So I think if you want to say anything to the audience, to the people who's watching, and yeah, go ahead.
Sure. To everyone watching, just if you are somebody who's like thinking about their sexual identity, kind of having that conversation with themselves, take your time. Only do what feels safe and comfortable. There is no time limit. Just, get to know yourself. It's fine. We'll be ready to welcome you when you're here. But yeah, we love you. Take your time. That's all I want to say. And it was nice to meet you face to face. I think this.
That's true.
It's been a lot. I think since like maybe Nebelhorn.
I think we haven't been to many competitions together, but yeah, for sure. It was so great, and I'm so happy that you guys are now in SkateProud and helping with the platform, and I'm sure we can do many more things together. So, well, thank you for your time, Joe. It was so much fun again.
Yeah, it was wonderful to meet you. To meet you more.
For sure.
And thanks for your time. After
COVID, we need to get together.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, take care.
Bye. 1 second. Here you go.